thinking through every day, and I'll talk more about it. Just again, confronting right now, it's confronting members of the House and Senate, but of the House in these town hall meetings. And if they're not doing town hall meetings, compel them to. Like, we have to keep saying, demanding they do.
Okay, if you would take your seats, we're getting ready to start. They have a clicker for you. They do.
Numbers, words, and punctuation.
The room quiets. We get ready. I want to welcome you. My name is Gary Gonser. I'm the president of ESCOM. And this is a great way of coming together to say hello to new authors and new partnerships. So thank you all for coming. This is our May author series featuring Arlie Russell Hochschild and her new book, Stolen Pride. So we're really proud to have her with us. Now, let me say a few words about ESCOM. Now, Emeritus Students College of Marin offers free online and in-person lifelong learning programs to educate and bring people together. We get to share our passions and expand our contacts, and there's no financial requirements, no academic requirements. We learn together and from each other. So before I pass the torch, if you will, I want to put a plug in for our upcoming forum event, which will be May the 20th over in IVC. We have some flyers in the back. It's called Power of Connection, Creating, Building, and Sustaining Community as We Age. We're doing a collaboration with the Marin County Commission on Aging. So this is a first, and we're working together to help our communities far and wide. This is a Marin County wide event. So having said that, I welcome you again and introduce Valerie Mullencourt. Please, Valerie is from the Community Education Department. She will talk about another very valuable department here on the college.
Thank you, Gary. Hi, everyone. I want to echo Gary's welcome. It is so nice to have you every springtime join us on a beautiful Friday afternoon here on the beautiful Kentfield campus. Can you all hear me? No. All right. I'm going to re-welcome you to. We got it? All right. So I want to re-welcome you and echo Gary's sentiment of it's wonderful to have you here on a campus on a Friday afternoon with us, with refreshments and incredible opportunities to speak with amazing authors from our community. I represent community education and community programs here on the campus, and I refer to them as the fun classes. No homeworks, no tests, just personal enrichment, fun learning with your peers. And so I have to shamelessly plug our new schedule that is coming out at the end of the month. And if you're a Marin resident, you'll get it in your mailbox. You've probably seen it before. And we're going to have two brand new classes. One is a /philosophy/hiking class called Walking with Nietzsche. It's very unique, and that's something that we like to bring. And then we're also going to be having a class called Spring Rolls, Egg Rolls, and Wontons, oh my. That's the name of the class. So we welcome you to join us in these fun classes, and thank you so much for being a part of events like this at College of Marin. Thank you. And now I want to introduce a leader of ESCOM. He runs clubs, and he is a general tour de force, Jay Connor.
Thank you. About 7 years ago, I introduced Arlie to the First Unitarian Church in San Francisco to talk about this book, Strangers in Their Own Land, subtitled Anger and Mourning on the American Right. That this was her 10th book, and this is her 11th. And that'll give you some idea of how long it takes to put one of these things together. A lot of work, a lot of effort, and it really shows. A lot of work here. The most important thing I got from this book was better understanding of why people voted for Donald Trump. Now, that's not us, is it? We're not a small, struggling Appalachian community. We're not forgotten, overlooked segment of Americans. But you meet a lot of people in this book whom you will recognize. And they are people we need to recognize and understand and see what makes them tick. Because we're going to be dealing with them and the results of their voting for a while. I'd like to quote from the back of the book from Michael J. Sandel, because I think he puts this in a wonderful way when he says, Arlie Hochschild reveals what liberals miss, that the moral emotions of pride and shame animate the resentment that roils our politics. This is the best book yet on the moral and political psychology of the new right, a masterclass in the art of listening across our cultural and political divides. And one more thing, this book has been designated by Barack Obama as one of his top picks for 2025. So you're dealing with you're dealing with a great book here and a great author who put it together. And thank you for doing that. And the microphone is yours.
Thank you so much for such a generous introduction. You know, there's no homework here, as they say, no, but not no readings. But, you know, I feel we here are a very special group. I feel like what we are active members of a civic culture of people that care. And we don't know each other across the country, but I feel like it's groups like this that are going to change the day for us. They're really going to make a difference. So we're not observers, and we're not just hearing what a voyager like me found in a place that's not here, but I feel like you're participating in a caring about it. Because I think we've come to a very important moment in the country. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So what I would like to do is, I'm going to have to, I have a little signaling. What I would like to do is take you with me. Is on a voyage. No, hang on. So the slides will be coming, I think. But in the meantime, I will tell you that some 6 or 7 years ago, an event occurred that got me into Eastern Kentucky. I received a telephone call from thank you. Okay. From Ro Khanna, who said, I'm a congressman. I represent Silicon Valley. I'm a Democrat. I'm a person of color. Many that I represent are people of color. And I'm wondering why he's calling. And he said, I'm calling you because I have just crossed the aisle to meet with a Republican congressman who represents Kentucky 5, which is the whitest and second poorest congressional district in the country, Hal Rogers. And it's a coal to coding program. We have been outsourcing jobs to Bangalore, where you learn to code cell phones. Now I would like to insource those jobs to unemployed coal miners in Eastern Kentucky. Was I interested? Yes. I thought finally some good news. I've been looking at the bad news. So 10 days later, I flew to Louisville to observe these classes and to interview people who had come from Eastern Kentucky to take this 6-month class. So that, because I got to know some of them, I followed them to Eastern Kentucky, and that's how this all began. Here we are. This is, come with me on this. This is what you will see outside of a lot of houses that you run across. And here you are, you're in Kentucky. This was once a stronghold for FDR New Dealers. You know, in the 90s, twice they voted for Bill Clinton. And it's since then that the political arrow has been pointing right. And in the last election, actually far right. Now, that's Kentucky, but we're in the light green part of Kentucky, which is more rural and more poor. Some 40% of the Kentucky state budget comes from the federal government, and much of that goes to Eastern Kentucky that we're looking at right there. Now, we're in a car and we're driving through these gorgeous mountains. And it's easy to think, what could be the problem? I'm in the world's most beautiful place, and I'm overcome by how beautiful it is. And you keep going, it keeps being beautiful. And finally, you find yourself in the little hub town, 6,000, of Pikeville, Kentucky. And it looks cheerful, charming, has its own indoor football team, Kentucky Drillers, has a small university, a regional hospital, looks prosperous. And it honors the graduates of high school. You can see a picture of a graduate on a being posted on 2nd Street right there in town. So that's the town. But outside the town are the hollers. What's a holler? These mountains have valleys and they're pretty narrow. And often it's just one lane of road with homes on each side. And you come to discover that people are often related to each other in these hollers. And they won't come up and say hi, but often there's a dog in the road. Just you slow down and you gotta say hello to the dog and slowly glides off. But here's a one, actually they're often more narrow than this. And there's a whole ethic. If climbing up the mountain, there is
Yes.
with one lane road. I asked one of the profiles in the book, friend, what happens when two cars come from different directions and you've got one lane? He said, everybody knows how far back it takes to get to the turnout of the other car. And so the one who has the least distance to back up is one who intuitively, no words spoken, will begin to back up. That gives you a kind of a feel for the importance of local knowledge and the way of life. Here again is a kind of look as let's say you're in that car and you're going around. This is what you're seeing. A little bit of farming. You see those corn in that field, but basically not much. What is there is coal. And you often see trucks like this, less and less. And on the back of it would be a sign, Trump digs coal. Now, coal was a prime source of energy in the 20s and the 40s and the 50s. And Pikeville was very proud to be a hub town. And you hear people say, we kept the lights on. You know, we won World War I. We won World War II. Source of enormous pride. And the men who went into mines like this were proud workers. And even the black soot on the face was a matter of pride. Think World War II veteran. Now, think of the mariners that came from dangerous voyages and came home, worry about them, came home. Heroic. It's heroic. And so, actually, it meant you earn good money, you bravely withstood hardship and danger, pride of a soldier. So imagine what happens when people begin to say, oh, that's dirty. dirty source of energy, and you're dirty to have coal on your face. So you see, they have a little diffidence and sarcasm about how coal is talked about. But in this story, remember, this is a one industry region, and this industry goes down. In the city and in the country, I often heard, well, look, you don't want to move to Cincinnati or Toledo or any of the Midwest industrial regions or centers to get a better job. You have to know somebody, you need a little money. And if you don't have a BA degree, watch out, don't go. So, and some people do. Some people do leave. On Route 23, there are many country and Western songs about Route 23 going north, leaving the region. And by the way, the whole importance of being a stayer or a leaver looms large, almost as important as social class or race. I'm a stayer, I'm a leaver. Now, one woman told me when I went to University of Tennessee, my great aunt said, Ashley, you're not going to stay gone, are you? Stay gone is a whole language. And if people lose their accents when they come home, people push them to recover those accents. Staying, leaving. Okay, while coal was leaving, something else was coming in, and that was OxyContin initially. Purdue Pharmaceutical found that in this region, there were so many injured men, they would go for pain relief to their doctor. And Purdue falsely advertised OxyContin as a non-addictive source of pain relief. And people got hooked. And then they went on to fentanyl, heroin. And thousands of people happened to this. And because that was a source of disgrace, getting addicted, and disgrace because first you are addicted, and then you've messed up your family life with that, have children, and the wife leaves you, you lose access to parental rights. You may lose your job, lose your home, be homeless. And in the Appalachian News Express, you turn to a certain page in the back of obituaries, and people will describe a young man, 20s, 30s, 40s, and it won't give the cause of death. Shame. So as coal jobs went out, opiates came in. And in this, we see a kind of a regional version of a national story that will take us to understanding the move to the right. 42% of Americans are both white and lack BA degrees, blue-collar whites. And there's a certain economic story that often gets buried in the pages of the New York Times. But Raj Chetty, Harvard economist, has laid this out, actually recently. And the story is this, the national story that our local story tells us about, is that blue-collar whites over the last 3 decades have lost income, lost property. And lost in two senses, lost absolutely and lost relative to whites with BAs and relative even to much poorer blacks who nonetheless were rising. So we're not focusing on level of deprivation, we're focusing on loss. It's a different psychological dynamic entirely. And this sector has suffered loss. It's not just economic, there's a whole logic that sets in with economic decline. People are more likely to have fragile personal ties, families break up, more likely to be living alone, more likely to be in poor health, and more subject to so-called deaths of despair. And that would be death through alcoholism, through drug addiction, and through suicide. And the highest rate of deaths of despair are for white, blue-collar men. So it's a national story, and what we're doing here in our journey here is trying to get closer to that story in a regional version of it. So these are the unmarked, these are the graves. Now, the story we've just told is marked in kind of pink and dark pink here. Now, this is David Maynard. And when I first met him, he said, I'm trailer trash, okay? Okay, I can take my time. And as I got to know him and his wife, who took this course of learning to code, and they lived in their trailer, and she did her coding from the local library in her trailer. And he doesn't work. He's on disability. It's very bad heart. They nearly died. So she's the source of income, and here he is. And here's what he tells me. He said, you know, it's not just poverty, but it's not economic. He said, there's an absence of pride. And he said it goes like this. There are two narratives out there. He's high school educated, using the narrative. Two narratives. He was the most brilliant person. Thinks conceptually, and this is what he said. You know, there are two narratives out there. One is for middle-class whites, and the other is for poor blacks. You got one narrative that says, oh, you worked hard, you earned your way, and you're in the middle class now, you're white, good for you, proud. And then there's another narrative, you're black, and so that's why you're poor. That narrative has it because of racism. And you don't get to be proud, but there's a reason for it. Poverty, racism and slavery. And he said, that leaves people like me out. I'm white, privileged, male, privileged, and poor. And so what could be the cause of my poverty, but that I'm stupid and idle. So kind of laid out kind of the idea behind this book. Now, I began to think indeed of pride and shame as I went around talking to people and talking to them again. I'm one of these people like just doesn't leave, keep coming back. And I do have attachments now. So following up a kind of a finding I also found in earlier book, Strangers, there is this, not just an economic down story, but an emotional story of shame. What is shame? I tend to think of shame as kind of the skin of the self. It's what we believe, what we focus on, what we think other people think of us. That it's not guilt where we're just talking to ourselves. Oh man, I messed up. No, that's different. And what if you find yourself in an area that is suffering what I would call, you call structural shame? A whole sector goes down, but you individually, you suffer that too. You're very proud, but you did get addicted. You're very proud. You work hard, but your job went out. You were afraid to take the risk of going on Route 23 to Cincinnati. Suppose all of this became personal to you. You couldn't feed your family, speaking of them. And well, that's your situation. Okay, I came to know some people. The person on the left, you will meet in this book, his name is James Browning. He overdosed 4 times and no heartbeat that 4th time. First, first time, he got better. By then he was homeless. And when I met him, he was just recovering in a recovery program to kick bugs. He was homeless, but he got a job and as a night watchman in the women's shelter. And he talked with me. We were Zooming. It was COVID. I didn't even I didn't even look him, personally. Later, of course, I did. But he said, "I'm in recovery now, and I don't know how to feel my feelings." And I thought, and I think I said, I don't think any of us really know how to feel our feelings. And he said, so I feel like a baby. I feel like I'm 4 years old. So he's talking this open, wonderful way. And I asked him, how did this happen? But, and he said, well, when I was 8 to 14, I was sexually molested by some male relatives. And I said, could you talk to somebody, dad, your mom? And then through Zooming, and he says, well, looking left and right, well, you're not from around here. But if I did that, I'd have 2 dead cousins and 1 father in jail. So I kept to myself. But then I didn't feel like I belonged where I was. So he's recovering not just from drugs, he was recovering from shame. And that's how he saw it. I learned a lot from him. This is Tommy on the right, and he's a recovering alcoholic, also in recovery work. And honestly, I found the most insight from people who had really hit bottom and were talking to me from the other side of shame. You can't, this is what James said, you can't shame me. I've already been shamed. I'm not afraid of shame. And I think it opened his heart to the world and also to other addicts whom he's drinking. Okay, so in this situation, this region, people politically felt neither political party was any kind of answer to the life's loss. And so what that opened was a kind of predisposition to someone who came in and said, I'm strong and I'm going to make it better. I'm not going to be a member of a party. I'm going to be a one-man party, charismatic leader. And charismatic leadership, Max Weber, a sociologist, great guy, sort of distinguishes between bureaucratic rational leadership, which is what we're used to, and that would, an example of that would be Joe Biden, who said, kind of, don't look at me, look at what I've done to build back better, bill, at the infrastructure act, look at the Inflation Reduction Act, look at this billions of dollars that I'm devoting for blue collar jobs in red states. But don't look at my face. You look at his face, blank. His leadership is based on what he does. He is. Weber tells us his leadership is based on what he does and not his persona. In charismatic leadership, by contrast, the leader develops his power and his offerings to his followers through his personhood. And not what he does, but who he is, relational. And very often, and Weber wrote this 100 years ago, a charismatic leader thinks he knows all that needs to be known. That the character of this, it's built into the type through history. And so Donald Trump came to town, gave talks in Louisville, and, Lexington, and claimed magical mental powers. So my thesis in this book is that to look at politics, we have to understand emotion. And purpose in my last two books is to help us be bilingual. That is to understand and read rational talk and to also understand emotional talk, because there is a logic to emotions. There are discourses that if you're not listening and not tuning in, we can miss. And the major discourse that I think this charismatic leader has offered this pained sector of our culture is through what I think of and call a 4-moment de-shaming ritual. And again, you're bilingual and you're so you're listening to that narrative. And the first moment of the narrative is Donald Trump makes a transgressive statement. He says, Haitian immigrants, all of them, are eating your pet cats and dogs. Or then, moment 2, the punditry shames Donald Trump for making his transgressive statement. You can't say that. It's not true, actually. One gossip, but that's not evidence. So the punditry shames Donald Trump. Bad for you to tell us lies. And it's in the newspapers. Shame. That's moment 2. Moment 3, Donald Trump becomes the victim of the shamers. And he says to his followers, look what they're doing. They're picking on me. They're saying I'm a liar. It's so hard. Do you know how hard it is to be shamed? Don't you know too what that's like? And I will take the shame off of you and put it onto myself as your rescuer. And they are doing to me what they want to do to you. People on the left don't know what he's talking about. That's actual quote of his. Well, that's what it is. He's saying, I'm taking the hit for you, much as Jesus took on the shame of others on himself sacrificially. But what Jesus did not do is moment 4, which transformed shame to blame. Moment 4 is retribution. You'll get back at there's another one. You'll get back and at the treasonous press, at the nefarious deep state, at the Democrats, and so that's the roar back. And I believe that the Democratic half of America is listening to moment 1 and moment 2. That is the transgressive statement and the shaming. And I believe the Republican half of America is tuning in to moment 3, Donald Trump as victim, and 4, the roar back, revenge at being victimized. So many people, and this is repeated, I would say, not just monthly, but weekly. You can fill in different transgressive statements, but it will go 1, 2, 3, 4. Bear it in mind as you read the newspapers over the next month. I can't move it. Yeah. Yeah, sorry to pause on this one. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah. And mainly, we call her whites, whom we're a proportion of us, 42%, have responded to this. Not only them, though, of course. African-American men, some 20%, immigrants too, women have responded to this. And the promise is to bring back coal in this region, of course, very important, to bring back high paid jobs, to cut taxes that liberals raise and profit from. And this is the promise. However, in the first 4 years of Donald Trump's first term, wages in congressional district Kentucky 5 declined slightly for hourly wages. And if you put hourly wages with benefits together, slight decline. He promised that coal would come back. Coal did not come back to the region. He promised that new well-paid jobs would come in. No new well-paid jobs came into the region. And still people thought, but he cares about us. He sees us, he acknowledges us, and he does not shame us. So now we are in Donald Trump's second term with a Republican Congress and a well-chosen appointed members of the Supreme Court. And now what's happening? Just kind of go into where we are now and how I think people in this district are responding to it. And then we can open it out for comments and questions. So in his second term, Donald Trump has launched a battling in any tariff war. He's described Canada as the 51st state, Greenland as real estate to be acquired, deported green card holders, deleted the term science-based from government websites, and fired over 100,000 workers from jobs in the deep state, which he now runs. Elon Musk has vowed to slash up to $70,000 billion from government programs. And so here's what we're, I think, looking at. This is the promise is to make America great again. And that means to our competitors not buy what they make, so as to encourage hard industry factories to come back to the United States, build up the middle class. And that's what his Trump supporters tell me that they think he's doing. But what this will do, we have to realize, is cuts to Medicaid, and 45% of people who are in live in Kentucky 5 are on Medicaid, and 2/3 of children qualified for food stamps. There have been cuts to the disabled, and the prospect of rising prices due to the tariff war, and perhaps most topically in the United States now, and actually most perhaps essential, is this issue of checks and balances, and whether a president can call emergency powers and override a Congress that has allocated funds for various programs, and override a judge who says you can't just deport someone who hearsay and rumor says is a violent offender. You know, the people I've talked to about Garcia, he's now confined, as I know you all are following this, in a confinement center, maximum security, in El Salvador. There's one man said, you know, and this is a man who is a pastor at the Little Beaver Church of Christ in Elkhorn, very gentle guy, QAnon follower for a while, and a Trump voter. And so he surprised me when he said, you know, if you listen to Fox News, you think Garcia is guilty and of terrible crimes. And he's doesn't have a right to be in the United States. If you listen to MSNBC, you hear he's got a family and 3 children, and he's working full-time job and is a legal resident. And so he said, what I think, he took the Fox News facts, but he gave them an MSNBC interpretation. He said, well, yeah, maybe he was in a gang, but now he's a father and he's got 3 kids, and we should give him a chance. So he was doing what I think a lot of people actually count as Trump voters do. They're confused. It's a mishmash, not sure what's true. And they can put a kind of a right-wing interpretation on right-wing facts, but a left-wing interpretation of mercy. Well, he was, after all, a pastor. So here is the Supermax. So I think today we are faced with the consequences of these policies, and they're being thrown at all at once. And people I've recently been talking to, some people say, well, he's clearing the streets of violent gangs. They belong in El Salvador. And others are saying, wait a minute, this is going way too fast. So on the whole, I would say the people you have just met, not actually the people that I've portrayed there, recovering addicts who are not Trump supporters. I think there are 2 tipping points. I've been asking myself, is there some point at which their scales will drop?
First off, comment on The Apprentice movie. You seen it? The Apprentice. Early history of Donald Trump as he's apprenticed to Roy Cohn. And the second one is Bernie.
Thank you. And Chas suggested you could use this microphone if I can. Yeah. Oh, there you go. I think you're on Zoom, so you might want to use that.
Okay. All right. Bernie, it's really interesting. There's a crossover between hard Trump and hard Bernie. You know, he's telling it like it is. He's the whole system doesn't work. The Democrats or Republicans, they they nod their heads at Bernie because he too is charismatic, and not everyone, but there's a shaking of heads. I would hear, oh, Uncle Bernie, you know, he talks about socialism. We're not socialists. That's terrible. No, no. But Uncle Bernie is a sympathy actor.
Thank you. Oh, do you want to talk about the Apprentice movie?
Huh. Yeah, that accounts for who we have there and the strategies that Donald Trump uses of, always counter accusing, never admitting flaws, believe in the efficacy of lies. And that explanation, I enjoyed the movie and felt enlightened by it. But what I add to it is how he could get people behind him. And for that, I think we need to understand pride and shame.
Thank you so much for your wonderful talk and these terrific books. I mean, I loved both of them. Hard to put down. But regarding the tipping point, the one that you think, in fact, might make a difference, that people's lives will get so bad that they may say, wait a minute, we need to do something here. My concern is that that tipping point is going to come too late. Right now, the speed with which our democratic institutions are being attacked, dismantled, it's really scary. And I just am not sure that I think that wave may be ahead of the other wave, because the misinformation, the disinformation that is coming out and that people are listening to is still convincing many people that we are on the right track. So I would just like to know what you think about which is going to come first, kind of the end or a reaction that could make a difference.
Thing come too late. Well, I think you're raising an excellent point, and it's a point that should make us anxious because it hasn't happened yet that prices of food have gone up. But what Donald Trump has very brilliantly done is to prepare people for bad news and to say, well, the United States is like a sick patient, and I am the tariff doctor. And in the recovery of the sick patient, there will be procedures that hurt. So it may get worse before it gets better. He's sort of sustaining hope and faith past the bad news that would belie his claim. And so people I was talking to, catching up with, are saying, well, when would he begin to doubt the doctor? And I had a very interesting conversation with a man born in China, quite apart. It's Bay Area. It's my son's father-in-law, lovely man, engineer. And he told me this. He said, Donald Trump and Xi, the leader of China, are in a contest, big, kind of momentous contest. But Xi can say to his people, okay, there's going to be pain, prepare for it. And he can appeal to a culture of suffering, belt tightening. You know, we've been through suffering before. There was the Great Famine. We got over it. He can appeal to that. But Donald Trump has promised, golden toilets and prosperity. So he can't quite appeal to the same culture. So if that's true, I'm not sure. It's just a hopeful hypothesis.
Hi, Arlie, thank you so much. I read Strangers in Their Own Land and just loved it. And while I was reading it, I thought, what courage Arlie had to go and live and be there and be open and to learn and to make friends. It was amazing. I had such a different feeling of the area after your book. But what interests me is you went back. Now you've done another book in the South. And my question is, what made you go back and revisit it and meet new people? And were you changed by it? You know, were you a different Arlie the second time around? Big question.
I love what I do. I wouldn't be continuing it at age 85 if I didn't love it. And I love it because I feel bigger. Did it change my politics? No, if anything, strengthened them. But I felt larger, like I was able to empathize with more complex and large number of people, and I like that feeling. I have gone back. I do. Right now, I'm going back to see how they're responding, where that tipping point might be. In going back, what's interesting is that the people I came to know are thrilled to be in the news. First, I had a PBS, Scott Tong, who does the Here and Now radio program, came with me and met all of these people and did a 5-part series earlier, 3 months ago. And they loved talking to Scott Tong, came from, far away. And then I did an article for the Wall Street Journal on them. Again, I don't know, 6 months ago, I've just submitted another. And they saw themselves in the Wall Street Journal. And now, there's a man from, I don't know if this is going to come off, but a man came up from Los Angeles, wants to do a film, feature film. I don't know how you would do this, but he said, I loved your book. Can you give me the names of people? Do I need to sign it? Said, well, don't worry about signing things. I'll give you the names. And so they feel suddenly this forgotten group of people. I don't feel so forgotten. And next, I think we'll do it in October. Everybody in the book wants to get together for a dinner. And they really differ from each other, as you know, or we'll discover. And the person whose idea this is the most right-wing, at most MAGA, Roger Ford in the book. Don't give up on anybody. That's the lesson.
Good. That's probably a good place to end. Don't give up on anybody. We're so grateful. Can we have another round of applause for Arlie? Going to sell your book back there. Zach is here from Book Passage, a great friend of the library. We've been doing this with Book Passage for 10 years. We're very grateful. Yes, go Book Passage.
Book Passage is good.
ESCOM always gives away free books, and my colleague Sarah is over there, and we'd like to give away some books right now. Who has a birthday in April? Okay. 2, 3. Okay. Who has a birthday in May? Okay. And then There's great. And May is here, and May is here and here. Okay, okay, three, we'll have a fist fight. Great. Okay, how about, there you go. All right, super. And let's see now. Be sure to get a book. I'm sure Arlie would be happy to sign. Great. And two announcements. Arlie asked me as we were preparing for today, how politically active is this campus? And I had some good news to share. And you're all cordially invited. We're on May 1st, May Day, at 12 noon, right out here. We're going to have a pro-democracy march. You're all cordially invited. When I told the ESCOM curriculum committee about this the other day, they said, "Oh, should we come?" I said, "Of course you should come." And one woman said, maybe she's here today, "We can show them how it's done." So it's so true. I went to a Tesla dealership the other day for a protest. The average age was probably 65 or 70. So let's help our younger students exercise their First Amendment rights. And then come back in 1 month for our second in a series. We're so grateful to Arlie. Next month on Friday, June 16th, May 16th, in this room at 1 o'clock, same time, same place, is Greg Saris. And Greg is the head of the Rayton Rancheria Federated Native American group. And he's written some beautiful short stories. They're called The Forgetters, and they're based on local Miwok and Pomo creation stories. So we'd love to have you back here then. And now, can we, Gary, am I forgetting anything or? All right, let's give, yeah, what time for which one? May 1st at high noon. It's so easy to remember. Okay, and yes. Oh, sorry, my name is Dave Patterson, and this is Sarah Fry, and we're two of your friendly librarians. Yeah. Okay, thank you. One more round of applause for Arlie Hochschild.